Hello, this is Dan Ferrisi, Editor-in-Chief of Commercial Integrator, welcoming you to AV Plus, the podcast for the commercial AV integration industry. We're very excited to be continuing our series of 40 influencers under 40 podcasts here today. We have three great honorees. We're going to have a fantastic conversation. We're so happy to be joined by Steffan Ramage, who is Vice President, Sales and Marketing with ProTech Management. Alex Fortin, who is president of NDS Integration, and Joe Dunbar, who is visual sales specialist with Starin. It's a really interactive and enjoyable conversation. Thank you for tuning in to AV Plus. We always appreciate your listenership.
As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube page, and please subscribe to the AV Plus podcast on Apple and on Spotify.
So let's get into it, as we've done with all of our 40 influencers under 40 podcasts, talking about your backgrounds, your career trajectories, what has gotten you to this point where your peers, your colleagues, even your competitors have nominated you as a 40 influencer under 40 honoree and someone who deserves recognition for the contributions you make to the industry. Why don't we start with you, Steffan? Tell me a little bit about the career trajectory you have taken to bring you to VP of Sales and Marketing with ProTech Management, and also what kind of continues to ignite your passion? Obviously, all the 40 influencers under 40 believe in what they're doing, are passionate about what they're doing. It's not a clock in, clock out kind of thing. What continues to ignite your passion?
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. So I almost have 30 years into the industry. So yes, I started at like 7. I started out, my father was in the AV industry. He was in live music. So when I was 7, he brought me in, and I loved playing with the new technology, right? Love seeing things, flashy lights, loud sounds. That was kind of the cool thing. So I worked with him during the summers, to be honest, in middle school through high school. Kind of spent every waking moment in the AV industry. When I went to school, I went for engineering and business, and I said, you know what, I'm probably going to get out of the AV industry. I got out of high school, out of college, and it's like, why am I going to get out of this? It's fun, right? It's new tech. And so I really liked the convergence that happened at that point with IT and AV. So this is back in 2008. So I joined as a service manager. That was not my most favorite job. Again, you just get a lot of people calling and asking for service, support, and it's always in a panic. So it actually leads me all the way to what I do today, almost 14 years later, of having proactive service and support. So I'm pretty passionate about that from an integrator side, where, you know, we're used to getting a lot of calls and a lot of issues that need to be resolved immediately. And so I like to use the new technology in IT, and that's what's driving me at ProTech is how do we make the customer aware of issues, not the customer make us aware of issues.
That proactivity is so important these days. And I know you've been to a lot of the business conferences I've been to where we kind of instill best practices, and that element of being proactive rather than reactive seems really at the heart of a lot of what we're hearing. And it sounds like that kind of is the thrust of what ProTech Management is doing.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting part in the industry, right? Is we can leverage that whole reason of IT AV convergence, put all these devices on the network. Why do we do that? Well, one of the benefits is being able to monitor it, right? And provide our customers with better analytics, better uptime, you know, better service and response. And so again, I think that's really something that's passionate for me. I mean, that's the whole new thing with a 2-year-old company. 2 years in and all the struggles I've had, I'm still very excited about making that happen.
Well, congratulations, Steffan, for being honored for the work that you've done, the contributions you have made. I think you have the tenure win, even though you're under 40 for most number of years in the industry. I don't think many people have started in the single digits, but it is very cool. And I'm glad to know that you're still passionate and still excited about what you're doing now. Why don't we move to you next, Joe, visual sales specialist with Starin. Tell us a little bit about what has brought you into commercial AV and how you've risen to the level that you currently have.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having us, Dan. You know, my career, a lot like other folks, it's like curiosity for technology, hardware, and then kind of merged with creativity and my passion to for the arts and things like that. And so as a youngster, in that kind of same age range of 6, 7, 8, I was not working in Pro AV at that point, but I started really taking apart computers and like whatever electronics we had around the house. And I joke with my parents that was the investment that they made into my career instead of like paying for college or something like that. There's a couple computers like compact Presario computers and stuff that still have the remains laying around our garage somewhere. And with the passion for creativity and the curiosity for how things work and that sort of stuff, it kind of just took its path as it started working in retail and electronics. And when an opportunity to get into residential integration came, I took that at 18. And so since then, I've been in residential integration. I then went into live audio. I worked as a front of house engineer, monitor engineer, and did that for a while. And then wanting to get off the road, touring is a bit grueling. So I found a position with a Pro AV firm in Minneapolis where I was living at the time. And the rest is history. So they say I've sort of you talked about intentional career paths, and I think it was at that point in time where I really not only understood that there was a lot of opportunity for a bunch of different career paths that I didn't even know some of these jobs existed or some of these companies existed, but it was at that point in time for me making the switch from pro audio to professional AV. I really decided like, okay, there are paths that I see and that we have the opportunity to take. And so I started kind of being more focused with my intentions at that point. So a lot of folks, fall into this industry, and I could say that sort of happened to me. I kind of discovered it through the work I was doing, but once I did, I didn't really look back. I think this is an industry that really I say it a lot. It's like we not only welcome kind of misfits, so to speak, but you can do really well in this industry because it requires people to think outside the box quite a bit. So I think that explains a little bit also why I've just been able to, move around so much and kind of climb through the ranks, so to speak, and find myself where I'm, very grateful to be now.
It's definitely interesting the trajectory you have had, and you've dabbled, as you say, a little bit in everything: the resi side, the touring side, the professional side, now Starin on the distribution side. What is it like to work on the distribution side? What is it like to work with Starin?
This is my second tour with Starin, actually, so it must be good things if I came back again, and I can certainly echo that. The distribution side is really fun for me. I've been in manufacturing and integration, and worked with consultants quite a bit and things like that. I like the distribution side because it's very flexible. I have a lot of options in terms of solutions that I can present to problems and things like that. And Starin in particular, we fancy ourselves to be a bit of a value add distributor. And I think that suits my skill set particularly well. So it's been great being back. I've just hit my 1-year anniversary last month again. So looking forward to more of those.
Well, congratulations for that, Joe, and congratulations, as I say, for being a 40 under 40 honoree, making your mark in the industry. Last but certainly not least, Alex Fortin, president of NDS Integration. Thank you so much for joining us. And same question for you, sir. Tell me a little bit about how you have found your way to, lead NDS Integration, what it's like to lead a company in our industry, and also, what preceded it in terms of your path in commercial AV and in pro AV generally.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Dan. It's a real pleasure, honestly, to be here and also to be an honoree. So I really do appreciate being here very much. So I would say that I have the conventional, unconventional route is kind of how I went to it, where I've always had an interest in music, arts, all of that kind of side, movies, huge movie fan. But I kind of fell into this totally by accident and kind of went the route of going the retail side and spent a few years with the largest independent retailer of electronics in Canada and helping them initially start out on the retail side, grow into B2B, open up their B2B division and help them grow. And it wasn't too long before the head office of Best Buy Canada was knocking on my door saying, "We love what you do. We hate what you do. Please come do it for us instead." And so it was quite a journey with them over the course of 6.5 years. I helped them grow from 12 to 52 million before I exited and decided to incorporate my own company which was Novmega Technology Incorporated, which then merged to become NDS Integration. But it's been a wild ride. It's been a really, really great ride. And I can't say that it hasn't had its moments where I've wanted to exit the industry. I think in early 2016, I did. I decided I was going on a sabbatical, and I ended, my AV career path on a Friday, and it was Tuesday morning before I was working back in AV again. So, I mean, it's just one of those industries. We got the very best of the people, but it can be very frustrating. But on the NDS integration side, it's been really exciting. It's been really fun, and what I would say is I have a deep understanding and history inside sales and marketing, and over the last few years, becoming more operational and getting my hands dirty and doing installations. It's just a really great industry overall with really great people.
So tell me a little bit, not necessarily about the nitty gritty of the frustrations, but rather how do you ameliorate those? How do you mitigate those? I mean, obviously, every time I see you on AV Tweeps Twitter or see you at a trade show, obviously you're excited about what you're doing. You're excited to be there. What are the strategies you use when they are kind of tough moments to make you feel good and keep you in the fold?
Well, you know what? I think this is a really amazing industry that has a lot of opportunity for growth. And the growth is not just in, pushing boxes and installs and numbers, but the growth opportunity is really to take a very well-established industry and innovate. And so to your question, one of the things that I get really excited about in this industry is the opportunity to do these innovations. And so, we think we are, maybe in a different world we'd be called an elegant trunk slammer, but we're the first real AV integration company that's remote first. So what that means is that we're never going back to the office. We're always going to have a remote team, and we're always going to operate as an integrator as such. But what keeps me still engaged and excited is continually trying to evolve my own business, but also try to evolve the industry by putting some new initiatives forward.
So let's move more to kind of the analytical part of this conversation, where I'll step back a bit and allow you to kind of converse among each other. The first thing I want to ask is, and all of you to some extent or another are involved in social media, AV Tweeps, Twitter, LinkedIn, et cetera. You're aware that there was some debate about the 40 under 40, whether it's worthwhile to highlight people who happen to be under 40, younger AV professionals. Would it be better just to say these are 50 influencers or something like that without an age component? I'm interested in collectively what you think about the idea of the importance of honoring younger people. Is it part of creating that intentional path that you had mentioned, Joe? Is it part of making sure that people feel recognized and that companies recognize the talent that they have within their ranks?
All of the above, right? I think all those things are important, and particularly, in terms of like retaining talent and things like that. Even as I get older and now into my career, in pro AV, really, closing in on 20 years nearly, and it's I think such an exciting thing for the younger people, not just younger people, like newer people to our industry that maybe don't know a lot about it or didn't know a lot about it, or becoming, kind of accommodating and comfortable in the industry to get a little highlight and just get a shout out kind of for, what they've done, what they are doing, or whatever the case may be. I think that just kind of keeps people engaged. I'd love to hear Alex and Steffan, what you guys have to say, because I think the 40 under 40 thing, I mean, that's an adoption from business, period. Like that's existed in the world. So like that part of that conversation, do we want to call it something? Do we want to look at it differently? I'm always open to those things, and I think they all have, pros and cons, but ultimately, I think it's important to make sure that we're looking at people who are kind of shaking things up, so to speak, or just doing something worth noting, and paying attention to that and putting a light on it a little bit. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's listen, there's no way you're ever going to make everybody happy, especially on social media and Twitter. But
is anyone on Twitter happy?
I don't know. But I think calling out young professionals and saying, hey, like these are some of the people that you may or may not want to keep an eye on, but these are the people that the industry or commercial integrator feels are trying to make a difference. I think it's always good to call out good work. And there's plenty of other awards out there for AV professionals that are, 40 plus. I mean, there's plenty of other award opportunities for them. There really isn't a lot of accolades in those beginning years. I mean, I'm sure the three of us can all attest that in those early years, there's not a lot of pats on the back. It's a lot of kicks to the butt, it seems like, as you kind of earn your stripes and work your way through the industry. And so, no, I'm a firm believer, and I think that young talent should be recognized and biased, maybe, even though I'm at the 11th hour of Commercial Integrator 40 under 40, but I do believe it should be called out. And good work should be called out just in general, but specifically when it's young professionals that we're trying to generate more interest in this industry. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. I think it's really to bring in younger talent, just to say that, hey, look, there are people under 40 that can make an influence in the industry and bring a new idea. I think, again, as system integrators, I really think that our position is to help customers resolve a business problem through technology, right? So a lot of people don't think of system integration, or folks that I talk to don't think of that as system integration. Like, oh, so you hang a TV, or you monitor this device, or you have a camera. They don't really think of it as solving business problems. So I think that it's kind of cool to be able to show, hey, you can help other businesses do their business, and you can make a huge impact, even if you don't have 20, 30, 40 years into the industry. Now, I would say, Dan, when I heard some of the comments, I mean, I do think that a 30 after 30, after 30 years of service, maybe recognizing 30 people. But I'm just, because there are a lot of influences, I think, I don't know, Alex and Joe. I mean, I had a ton of influences from people who have been in the industry, honestly, 45, 50 years. I mean, the history there, obviously, even my father being in the industry, it's like I have people now that are 70, 80 years that are telling me, hey, well, have you thought about this? Or this is what we used to do. And I really like that, because now I can go, okay, can I do it different? Is there a way to improve it now from the way they did it? So I think that there's definitely a place, but I think we have to tell the younger generation, new employees, to Joe's point, even if they're not under 40, but maybe they're new to the industry, this is kind of what the industry can do. So I think that that's pretty important.
30
Very
over
well
30. Said. That's awesome.
I certainly agree that I do think it's important to honor and highlight the contributions of young talent, but I don't think it's a bad idea to look at people who have been contributing for 20 or 30 or 40 years and have left a legacy and are kind of beacons for younger people who say, I wish I could be like her. I wish I could be like him. I mean, look at someone like Harrow Hines, who's in his 90s, and people still will say, what an incredible career, what incredible ideas and contributions. So I certainly don't think there's any age limit on people being inspiring and being beacons for us all to aspire to. So let's move next to this idea of intentionality, which we've already kind of hinted at. So many people, even in conversations I've had in these 40 under 40 AV plus podcasts, just kind of end up in commercial AV. There isn't really a very clear career trajectory per se, if you're a high school student or in technical college or on the road or in a four-year university, to say, I want to be an AV systems integrator, or I want to be a part of an AV consultancy. There's not a lot of curriculum that's going to pull you in, that's going to be a magnet to pull you in. Do you have any ideas about how we can be more intentional in bringing people into the fold? And do you think it potentially at least could be an existential issue that people are not dreaming of being in our industry, that they just kind of end up here?
Going to solve the industry education problems right here.
Well, I think, one of the challenges is that we don't really fall into one specific category. AV is IT, but it's also construction, it's also live, it's also residential. And I think that's where kind of the confusion comes into play, is that if we were HVAC, if we were high voltage, if we were drywall, if we were just IT, I think it'd be a lot easier career path, and for people to kind of understand and figure out. But really, it's in many days, and probably all of us can attest, it's kind of a mix of a lot of different things, right? It's if we were just drafting, if that's all we were doing, is we're just doing drafting services, it'd be a much simpler career path. But I don't think it's an existential crisis. I think it's one of those things that there is an opportunity to follow that career path. There is schools that will provide the education, but I think it's also on us to find those people and nurture those people and engage with them on the level that they want to be engaged on to bring them further into the industry.
Alex, you said, I say a lot to, like, just right on, like I say to people, and I don't remember when I stumbled across this, but I was telling somebody what I did a while ago. This is a long time ago. And they were like, oh, so it's kind of a niche industry or something. And I kind of paused for a second. I said, it's like a niche of every industry. It's really, you can be, name a Fortune 500 company. You could easily be an employee for them and they hire you directly and still, you're doing AV management and things like that. I don't want to say grateful is not the word because then it sheds a light on the whole thing, but the recent events, and the silver lining of some of those things is that visibility. We're talking about 40 under 40 and all these other ideas. I think these things call attention to the industry to just let people know we exist. I mean, initiating and triggering that curiosity, I think, is really the first step, in addition to traditional methods, of course, but things like AV tweeps and creating awareness around the industry is just enough for young people to go, oh, I was kind of on the edge of this industry. I was interning and working as the AV guy at school while I was doing this thing or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a whole world that you find out about. I mean, that's how we got to hook people. I mean, Steffan, how do you guys find talent? Is a problem, right? Finding people is a problem.
It is a problem, and I think it's really because you hit it. It encompasses so many things, right? I mean, I used the phrase for a long time, if you see it or hear it, we do it. And a lot of people stand back for a minute and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, well, you're in the airport. I mean, think about all the things that we can do in the airport and then all the things we got to monitor. I mean, it's massive. And I don't think people think about that until, it's kind of not there, or until something, happens. And now it's like everybody has video conferencing and they're like, so that's what you do? Yeah, that's what we did before it was cool, right? Like that was the thing. So I think it's just educating folks that, system integrators are typically the ones that bring all of these things together, right? I mean, I think about, so ProTech, it's like we're monitoring AV devices. We can monitor IoT devices. We can monitor HVAC devices. We can monitor elevators. You're bringing together facilities and IT and security. And I mean, it's all of the above, and you can find your path into the industry in any of those things. And I think because of that ambiguity, because of that it being involved in so many things, sometimes it's hard to describe exactly what you do. To Alex's point, it's like, oh, I hang drywall. Well, I mean, that's what you do every day, all day. I mean, amazing. That's hard work. I've done some of that. That's hard work. We don't do one thing. We do a ton of things. And so I think education abroad, just to the younger generation and people that aren't in the industry, yeah, this is AV or this is integration. This is what it looks like. I think they're frequently amazed to all the things that we touch, I guess I should say.
It really becomes like, I feel like it's inherently our responsibility in this industry to help develop, not, the way we reach people and cause awareness is one thing, or create awareness, I mean to say, but ultimately like creating not even career paths, but understanding that as you bring young people not into the industry, right, but into your company, right, a path for them to just grow in their existing role and learn all of those things. Because if somebody comes into this and you spill all the sorts of things they can do and be and all that, like that's going to be the fire hose problem. But if you can really kind of take them in their role and understand, like, this is a job. I mean, when I was young, my mom was like, I was working in electric. She's like, wow, but what are you going to do for a career? Mm-hmm. If I wish I could have pointed to a million things, but I didn't know they existed. And here I am now. So that's definitely on us. I love that. If you can see it, if you can hear it. You guys are giving me all sorts of good stuff today. Appreciate
it. We frequently have to, walk customers through, all the things, right? I mean, I even think it's like, oh, you walk into the building, did you swipe your badge? I mean, did a camera see you? Did you have to enter the parking lot?
Yeah.
Did you have to hit the elevator? Did you want to control the temperature? Right? It's like all of those are things that system integrators can do. We didn't even hit AV per se yet, right? We haven't even hit a conference room or the digital signage you passed. So it's just educating folks. I think it's that's the hardest part in our industry. There's just so much.
I think also on the career path, just to complement what Joe was saying, is one of the things that, you know, I've had success in is talking to people I work with and saying, hey, like, you're the potential for your life here is more than just the work you're doing. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. Take that in mind with, you can extrapolate this to your, you know, pulling wire, but maybe one day you become an electrician, and then the next day you're running a multi-million-dollar electrical company. Or maybe it's, you know, you start on the service side, and then you end up understanding that a lot of these devices are networked, and you end up becoming a network professional. Or you end up, you know, there's a lot, you have to kind of explain to people that the whole entire picture of this is more than just a job. It is somewhere that you can build a real life and career in, but you have to kind of understand what their interests are. You know, maybe with Joe, it'd be like, hey, Joe, you know, you're doing great work right now, and why don't you, you know, set up a live events company, and you could be traveling, or maybe not traveling. Maybe you're just sitting, you know, from the office, and you have all these teams traveling all over doing all these amazing concerts and events and this type of thing. So you just kind of have to explain to people from the different perspectives of where their potential career path is. And it's more than just whatever they think they're doing today. It's so much more. It's so much more.
Took me a long time to learn that. It's a great point.
Yeah.
I think that's a key for companies looking for new talent, right? Alex, you hit it, you know, develop what the individual's passionate about, because again, you can take one what seems to be small item and expand that so quickly. So I think that's an important thing for companies to keep in mind, right? Like, get somebody that is passionate for an item, bring them in, let them be creative, let them, you know, figure out that business problem and how to solve it using some form of technology. I mean, that's really what we're here for.
Or even just play to their, you know, play to the ego. Like, you could be the very best at installing DirectView LED in Western US if you get enough experience. You could literally, you have the opportunity to be the very best at, you know, whatever it is, setting up conference rooms, network, because the opportunity is there. You can dive very, very deep into small niches in this industry and create a great wealth of knowledge.
Do you guys feel like you don't? Because I feel this way, and I just want to see if others share it. It's like, I'm interested in all of these things, and like the only regret that I have is that there just isn't enough time for like me to truly be educated and, you know, and to develop mastery of all of these things. Like, that is my interest. I want to know the whole scope of the thing. I mean, do you guys, anyone have that as well, or am I a crazy person?
Well, Joe, I'm not going to determine if you're a crazy person or not. That is not my time or place.
I need another call for that.
Yeah, we only have, I don't know, 30 minutes or something. But, you know, I certainly was there. I mean, again, being in the industry for so long, I could see all the fun stuff. That's what brought me back in after college, right? It's like, man, I could go so many directions with this. I would say right now, personally, I'm very intentional on where we want to go, right? I mean, it's like I've kind of found that segment that I think is huge when I talk to end customers, you know, with ProTech and proactive monitoring service and support, that it's like, I'm just drilling right in on that. And I think that's kind of the fun, is you can go to so many customers with that, right? As soon as you find that segment that you really want, you know, Alex says, well, if you want to be the best DirectView LED installer, period, well, just focus on that. There's plenty of business in that. There's plenty of customers in that. Get really, really good at it. And customers will start coming to you for that service. And so for me, I've been very intentional on taking that path. I want to be the very best at what I do. But yeah, I mean, I definitely started with that. I wanted to do everything, and I'll probably get there again after I wear out my intentional behavior.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying, Steffan. And I echo the same thing. One of the sayings I say quite often is, you know, you can be good at, you know, anything. You can't be good at everything. And you know, for my company and my philosophy is that we want to get very, very good with specific industries or specific parts of the AV integration. Yes, the interest is there, and yes, I'm super excited about all of it. But in order to build a really profitable and scalable business, you've really got to nail down on doing a couple basic things really, really well, like really excellently. Otherwise, every day is a brand new project, and you're learning about the new technology and the new gotchas every single time, and that's where a lot of one, it's not a great customer experience for the customer, but two, it's an opportunity for to just lose.
Decrease your revenue margin there.
Sure.
Well, we've actually already crested a half hour. This has been such a great conversation. I haven't done this before, but I'm going to do a little lightning round because I don't want to leave an important question on the table. So just in a couple of words each, I would like your perspective, recognizing the fact that companies are going to want to hang on to their young superstars, people like you. Some idea, some tangible thing, whether it's compensation, whether it's benefits, whether it's creative freedom, whether it is always having new challenges. What is going to keep someone like you, not necessarily you personally, but someone like you in the company they're with? What can a company do to keep and retain their superstars? And why don't we start with you, Alex? Just a kind of a quick lightning round as we close.
Sure. Well, I think I already touched on it. I think it's understanding each employee and what their individual motivating factors are, and keying in on that. So if it's career growth, and giving those career growth opportunities. If it's education and excellence, then it's giving those opportunities to learn and be excellent in those specific spaces. But I don't think there's one thing. I know I've had people I've worked with that money is a motivating factor, then great. And I have others that you could give them $10,000 to get out of their desk and they wouldn't do it. So you really have to understand each individual person, and I'll leave it at that.
Steffan?
Yeah, I would echo understand the each person that you have, but I would also add, open communication, right? I think if you can, as a leader, business owner, employee, whoever you are, if you can have open communication between yourself and your leader, I mean, that's what's going to help.
And Joe?
I don't want to just say, I'll echo everything, but I just want to stamp what you guys said and say, yes, that's the kind of innovation. When companies talk about how they innovate, I'm not curious about how they innovate with technology and what solutions they use, like whatever, that stuff's out there. We're all going to figure that out. I am curious in how they innovate in saying, these are our principles, and this is a fit, and we're looking for somebody and looking for people and understanding how we can, best work together, not just bring them in to fit the spot we need, but bring them in because they fit a lot of things, and we're going to find how to work together so that that's mutually beneficial for people. And frankly, that's why I work where I do.
Well, I have to say, this has really been a fantastic conversation. Of all the different pods I've done, this is one of the ones where each of you has really gotten into a dialogue with each other the most, which is exactly what I'm hoping for in creating the 40 Influencers Under 40. We don't only want to hold you up, but we also want to celebrate your thought leadership and get you talking among each other and just seeing what the fruits of that are. So I feel very fortunate to have had all three of you on the podcast. Thank you for being here. My appreciation to Steffan Ramage, who is Vice President of Sales and Marketing ProTech Management, Alex Fortin, who is President with NDS Integration, and Joe Dunbar, Visual Sales Specialist with Starin. It's been a really rewarding half hour. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
My name is Dan Ferrisi, Editor-in-Chief with Commercial Integrator. Please check back on commercialintegrator.com each and every Friday for a new edition of the AV Plus podcast. Thank you once again for tuning in to AV Plus each and every week, and we will see you soon.